Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, the Las Vegas Raiders could draft a 2023 Heisman Finalist. Now, the way that I look at college football and the way that I look at the quarterback room here, yes, the Raiders have Aidan O'Connell, and the idea of whether or not Aidan is going to be back next season is still 100% up for grabs. But the reason why I wanted to make this show is because the Heisman finalists have just been revealed. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., and to me, I don't know who the next head coach is going to be. I don't know who the next general manager is going to be for the Silver and Black. However, there is a chance, and I actually think that there is a halfway decent chance, that the Raiders are going to be targeting one of the quarterbacks here that is a Heisman finalist, whether that be Jayden Daniels, whether that be Bo Nix, or whether that be Michael Penix Jr. I believe that if they are not targeting one of those QBs, not saying that they're going to draft one, but you at least got to start doing your homework, and you got to at least have the idea that it's a possibility that you're going to draft one of those Heisman finalists. No disrespect to Marvin Harrison Jr., he's not going to be there. He's going to go to a team early on that needs a wide receiver. So the reason why I'm talking about these three quarterbacks is because let's just say the Raiders don't want to have to trade up, right? You're trying to build in the draft. You're trying to save some of that draft capital, and if I'm a new head coach or GM, I want to be able to save some of that draft capital. And yes, I love me some Drake Maye. To me, he's going to be a top 3 pick, and unless the Raiders lose out, that's really going to be the only way that you're going to be in a position to have enough draft capital to trade up for a Drake Maye, to trade up for a Caleb Williams, right? He's going to be skipping the bowl game, and I know some people are like, I don't know if he's going to come out for the draft. The fact that he's skipping the bowl game, to me, indicates that Caleb Williams is going to be entering the draft. Drake Maye is going to be entering the draft, and personally, the only way that you're going to get a Caleb Williams or a Drake Maye is if you were to trade your first-round pick and a guy potentially like a Devontae Adams, or you trade your pick and you got to trade 2 more first-round picks. So if you don't want to do that, that's where you have to look at some of these Heisman finalists like a Bo Nix, like a Jayden Daniels, or like a Michael Penix Jr. So to me, I believe in 2024, Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. are all guys that the Raiders will 100% have on their big board. Also, shout out to Big House. How about this, though? This is a big-time question here, and I'm curious where you guys land on it. If you had to pick a starting quarterback, and you can only pick from the 4 names that you see on screen right now, who would you go with? Would you go with the LSU quarterback in Jayden Daniels? Would you go with the Oregon quarterback in Bo Nix? Would you roll with the Washington guy and Michael Penix Jr.? Or you just say, you know what, man? I don't want any of those QBs because to me, they're not better than Aidan O'Connell. I want you to spam AOC if you're rolling with Aidan. Coming up here on the show, I will give you my answer, and I'm going to rank where I have all 3 of those quarterbacks ranked compared to Aidan. So I'm going to tell you who I like more between Bo, Jayden, and Michael Penix Jr., though there's some people that call him Michael Penix. I'm not going to mention any names. So to me, though, when you look at potentially drafting that Heisman finalist, as it stands right now, the moment that I am making this video, the Silver and Black have the 11th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, and if they lose the remainder of their games, hell, I just anticipate that they're going to be somewhere between pick 6 and pick 11. That's where I see the Raiders end up falling, and they could find themselves in the top 7. However, you could talk about Jayden, you could talk about Bo, you could talk about Michael, you could talk about all these quarterbacks in the draft. If Aidan O'Connell balls out these remaining 5 games and he shows that, hey, I might have what it takes to be the franchise quarterback, you're going to find out in the next 5. My problem is, not that I don't believe in Aidan, I just believe that there's a lot more upside, and you need upside in the AFC West going up against Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. You need some of the upside, which I don't know if Aidan has. So coming up here is ranking the 3 Heisman finalists for the Las Vegas Raiders in 2024. I'm not sitting up here, I'm saying I'm ranking these QBs based on where they should go in the draft. That's not what I'm saying at all. The ranking that you're going to see is strictly for the Raiders. What 3 quarterbacks in that rank, how I believe that they're going to fit with what the Raiders have currently on their offense, currently have as a defense, currently have with free agency, draft picks. You have to put all of that together considering of what quarterback you're going to decide to roll with next season. Now, I'll give you those rankings here in just a sec, but I do got to give a shout-out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy, and Man, I can't wait for Week 14. I'm going to show you my picks for the Raiders-Vikings game. And if anybody wants to start playing, hey, you can do it as well. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. We were doing a little prize picks on Sunday and had one of my players get injured. I ended up taking Tank Dell. But because he got injured, I ended up getting the reboot policy. And guess what? I didn't lose any of the money. So with prize picks this week, you could pick more or less. Aidan O'Connell, 213.5 passing yards. I took the more on that one. The Vikings defense is built really solid up the middle with their defensive tackles. They're actually really good against the run. So because of that, I'm going to go less with Josh Jacobs. TJ Hawkinson, one of the better pass-catching tight ends in the league. And what's his name? Dobbs has been looking to him a bunch. So I took the more there. And then Davante Adams. If I'm going to go more with Aidan, I'm going to roll with more with Davante Adams as well. So again, Nation, if anybody wants to go get started, play around a little bit, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS, and make sure that you use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. All right, let's look at these Heisman finalists and which ones that I believe that the Raiders should end up targeting and drafting in 2024. I'll even tell you where exactly I would target them in the draft if I was the general manager here of the Las Vegas Raiders. Coming in here at number 3, it's Bo Nix. And I think what Bo has been able to do for the Oregon Ducks is sensational. Anytime you guys see a young man go from Auburn, and not only like going from Auburn, like the type of quarterback that he was at Auburn, to now the type of quarterback that he is at Oregon, because he has improved every single year that he has been under center, which is a trait that I look for time and time again, especially when you look at a kid that was highly recruited coming out of high school, goes to college, struggles, and sometimes you can struggle, but how do you bounce back? I do think that he has the leadership qualities that you're looking for in terms of a quarterback, and yeah, I don't think the ceiling is all that high. To me, his arm is decent, but your ability to handle pressure speaks volumes. Like, you can have all the athletic ability in the world. If you don't have it up here to be an NFL QB, I'm not going to bet my money on you unless you have it up here. And Nix, to me, looks very mentally strong. I will admit the offense that they have created for him in Oregon is as simple as possible, and that type of offense will not work in the NFL. At least I don't believe that it will, because it's just totally different short intermediate routes. But Bo this season, 77.2% completion percentage. I mean, like, that is extremely impressive. 4,145 yards, 40 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. When it comes to Bo, well, you know what? I'll ask you first before I give you my answer. Give me a yes, give me a no. Do you think that Bo Nix is worth a first-round pick in the NFL draft? Because this is a big-time question for me out there. If you're the Raiders and you're currently sitting at 11, I don't want to take Bo Nix at 11. I'm telling you that right now. However, what if the Raiders right now, I think their other pick's at 42. What if you package the deal and you tried to move up into the first round to go get Bo? But if you don't think he's worth a first-round pick, I don't know if it's smart to take Bo that early. So what do you think? Yes? No? Is Bo Nix worth a first-rounder? For me personally, I do not think that Bo is worth a first-round pick. And if it was up to me and the only way that the Raiders were going to get Nix is in round 1, I'd rather you just keep Aidan O'Connell. I'd rather you use that extra first-round pick to be able to go out and build the team around Aidan, because honestly, I actually don't think that the upside is all that different to me. Yes, Bo was a better athlete, but Aidan and Bo, in terms of their ability to throw the football, I do not believe that it is that much different. I would rather the Raiders keep Aidan O'Connell instead of going out and drafting Bo Nix. Let's go to number 2 here for my Heisman finalist for Las Vegas, Michael Penix Jr. And for those of you that watch the show, yeah, it's different. Penix now is bounced down. I put Jayden Daniels. He's going to be number 1. Spoiler alert. I love the fact that he's a confident passer. He shows good accuracy, his ability to throw the football in the middle of the field. On the outside, it's a quality that doesn't get nearly talked about enough, especially for a young college quarterback getting ready to go into the NFL. The biggest red flag that I have on him, and it's the biggest red flag that a lot of people should have on Michael Penix Jr., it's the injury history. He's been healthy the last 2 years. That's great. But what ends up happening in these draft processes is, if I'm a GM, right, I'm going to look at everything. And you should look at senior year, junior year, sophomore, freshman, high school. Like, you got to go and you got to do your homework, because whoever that next GM head coach is if you decide to roll with a Michael Penix Jr. and he ends up getting hurt, that's going to be something that people say, hey, you should have done better homework. He has red flags. But just like I mentioned with Bo, when Penix was at Indiana, no talent around him, but you could still see that he was a playmaker. The fact that he has been as successful as what he has been with Washington, yes, you got to tip your cap to Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator of the Huskies, but 33 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. There's a reason why Washington is the number 2 team in the country. And it's because of Michael Penix Jr. It's because of that offense, and it's because of his ability to spread the love to all of his receivers, get everybody involved. It's what makes Washington so difficult to cover. I can't wait to see what he does in the college football playoffs. But number 1 for me, and the more and more I watch this kid play, the more and more, I'm just going to be real with you. I'm not saying that they're the exact same quarterback, but I can remember watching Lamar Jackson at Louisville, and everybody was telling me, oh, Lamar Jackson isn't going to be a good NFL quarterback because his skill set doesn't translate. But when you watch Lamar Jackson play, you were like, that guy's just different to me. Like, he's an incredible athlete. He's the best player on the field. And when I watch Jayden Daniels, it's the same exact mindset that I have. And a lot of times when I watch quarterbacks play, I write down notes. And I write down notes more of a reminder. And one of my quarterback notes that I have from that Lamar Jackson year was, hey, if you like a guy and he stands out to you that much, don't let other people influence you. And every time I watch Jayden Daniels play, he is right now the number 1 quarterback minus Drake Maye, because I've always been a Drake Maye fan. I would rather watch Jayden Daniels play right now than Caleb Williams. Like, to me, Daniels is the most important player to his team in college football. When it's a big-time situation, those guys look to him. That's a quality. He's a leader. He has the arm strength, and he has the athletic ability to be a nightmare for defensive coaches. And to me right now, where I look at where this Raiders roster is, why not? And I know that there's going to be people out there like, Mitch, the Raiders can't do it because he's an LSU quarterback because of Jamarcus Russell. Let me just say this one time because I don't want to have to say it again. If your biggest reason why the Raiders shouldn't draft Jayden Daniels is because of the helmet that he wears, man, I don't know what to tell you, right? Like, would you have taken Joe Burrow? Jeremy made that, comparison earlier in our live show. I know a lot of people said you can't draft C.J. Stroud because he's an Ohio State quarterback. To me, you have to watch the player. You have to look at the guy and what he brings to the table and how he's gotten better and better and better. And the jump that he made from last season to this season, I'll tell you what right now, I believe Jayden Daniels is going to win the Heisman. And if you watch the tape, don't look at the helmet. Just watch the player. To me, man, he's going to be a top 10 player that goes in the draft. And I believe when you look at his throwing ability, but then also his ability to run with the ball, man, 135 carries, over 1,000 yards rushing, 10 rushing touchdowns in the SEC. To me, Bo Nix is good. To me, Michael Penix Jr. is good. Jayden Daniels has the upside and has the ability, and quite frankly, if you want to compete with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, you need a home run. Jayden Daniels has that home run ability that at this point, I say, why the hell not? Let's take a chance. Let's roll with Jayden Daniels. Now, just because I have Jayden as number 1 on this list, he is still not my top quarterback in this year's draft class. But it goes back to, yes, I like Aidan O'Connell. Aidan O'Connell is you hitting a single. Drake Maye is a home run. Caleb Williams is you swinging for a home run. Jayden Daniels is you swinging for a home run. I look at Michael Penix Jr. as you probably trying to hit a double. Bo Nix is another single. I want the Raiders this offseason. If I was the head coach and general manager, I'm swinging for a home run. And that's Drake Maye, Caleb Williams, who I do not believe are going to be available to you unless you draft or unless you give up a lot of draft capital, trade one of your stars. The only dude that I don't think you're going to have to move in the draft for, as it stands right now, once the NFL Combine happens, I think Daniel's stock's going to go up even more and more and more. But right now, if the Raiders are somewhere where they are at, Jayden Daniels is on the board. I'm telling you right now, I'm taking Jayden Daniels if I don't have to trade up for him in the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, before I go, I did want to show some love to Max Crosby. I know that he wasn't really featured on this show. It's more just the quarterback conversation, which is where the Raiders kind of need to be right now. But, man, anytime you get awarded to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year, I mean, this is an award that obviously we know what Max does on the field, but this is an award for players that go above and beyond even off the field, help the community, and what Max has done from an Eastern Michigan standpoint, donating $1 million to that football program, what he does for dogs, like trying to find homes for them, what he does just on a daily basis is the reason why when people ask me, Mitch, would you give up 4 first-round picks for Max Crosby? It's such a difficult conversation because Max is what the Raiders are. And if you want to build a franchise, you build a franchise the way that Max Crosby has built his entire career. Nothing was given to him, brick by brick. And when you got a guy like this that's leading your franchise, you got a chance in my book. So to me, major shout out to Max Crosby. And what I want you guys to do, this is how I'm going to know to the people that made it to the very, very end of the show. I want you to spam 98 down below to show Mad Max, to show the Raiders that, hey, we're voting for Mad Max to be the Walter Payton Man of the Year.